Hello, everybody. Today we are going to do a few deck flip throughs. We're starting with the Halloween Waite, and then we're going to go into some witchy ones. So I know Halloween's over, but I refuse to accept that that means spooky season has to be over. It's not Christmas yet. In fact, it hasn't even been Thanksgiving. And for me, spooky season lasts for a really long time, and I hope it does for you as well. So, like I said, we're going to start with the Halloween Waite, which is this deck right here. I don't know if you've seen this one before. I'm going to have to be really careful with the reflect because this is a holographic one. And I do want to preface this by saying I am not a fan of the traditional Rider Waite art style. So as I do my flip through and my review of this deck, I will 100% not count that against this deck because I knew what I was getting. So again, this is the Halloween Waite deck, and it is holographic and it is pretty fun. I've opened it previously and I have not yet done a flip through, so we're doing that together for the first time. So you can see the back of the box has this cute little spooky Dracula and some writing. And again, it's really hard to see because of the reflect. And then on the side, it does say Halloween Waite. I will get used to showing this the correct way at some point, but the camera thing is confusing me, I'm not going to lie. The bottom is cute. There you go. You can read that. It has all their social media tags. I don't know if you've seen this deck before. I think it is newish. It came to me right after Halloween, I think, is when it finally arrived. So it does not have a guidebook. So let me just say that because I know there's a lot of guidebook girlies out there, and this one does not have a guidebook at all. So take that for what you will. Also, it is a fairly flimsy cardboard box. It wasn't super hard to open, as in the cardboard didn't tear, but it didn't come over easily. So that's probably good for the longevity of it. And again, it didn't tear when I opened it. I would prefer that it open a little bit easier, but that's just me. So it's just standard flimsy cardboard tarot card box like you're used to, much like the original Rider Waite. The only difference is this is holographic. And when you get into the deck, you see the back of it is really cute with this kind of fall orangey plaid print. So very, very fall themed, which is really consistent with what we think we're getting into with this deck. And then it's the size is, I have to admit, maybe a little bigger than I'd prefer. I mentioned in my first video that personally I have fairly small hands. So this is a little bit bigger than I'd like. I'm like feeling the hand feel right now as I'm talking. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little bigger than I'd like. And the cards are pretty stiff. They're a little stiffer from what I would expect for this kind of a deck. I don't know, it's bad, and that may like wear down as you use it because this is my first time really touching it. And I did skip my intro. I am Gabby from the Mystic Sisters, and I'm so excited to be reviewing a few decks with you today. I've got the Halloween Waite, and then I have a few witchy themed one, and I actually have a new tarot storage box that I just got that I will be showing as well. So very excited about that. All right, let's start flipping through the cards. Hopefully that's what you're tuning in for. All right, so first we have the Fool, obviously. And it is very colorful, really emphasizing that carefree clown aspect. You can see the sparkle in the stars, and you can really see that holographic effect. And I really like the dog. The dog gives that exuberant, starting off on a journey feeling, kind of like the Fool does. So I feel like this is a really good Fool card. It's a great way to start the deck. I quite like it. Personally, again, I don't necessarily love this like clowny art style, just like I was saying that I don't like the original Rider Waite art style, but that's a taste thing. That's just a personal preference. So I'm not going to count it against it. It is on theme. And I think you even see this when you look up the deck online. You know what this card looks like, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not surprised. Okay. Here we get into the Magician, and again, very traditional in aspect, but with that Halloween theme. So you've got the chalice and the pumpkin, and you've got him holding up his wand, and you've got these fall leaves on the trees and on the ground, and you've got some bats flying in the air. There's some weird background noise going on. I don't know what that is. Sorry. And so, yeah, I really like this one. It kind of gives a little bit of a spooky effect. And that's a good card for the Magician, where he's not exactly a vampire, but he is giving off a vampire vibe with that cape that he's wearing. So kind of a fan of that one so far. I'm liking the deck more than I expected to. Then here we've got the High Priestess, and she's sitting on the moon, and she's got spider webs. And again, she's also got bats. And I just love these stars on this deck. I'm loving this holographic effect because it's more than just like a surface shimmer. The way that they did these stars is actually really, really good and really, really nice. So I love the pentacle necklace she's wearing. I love the detail of the cobwebs in the moon. And of course, that cat sitting with her is just amazing. So yeah, this is a really nicely done card. And oh, look at her hat. Look at the stripes on the hat and the flowers. Okay, I am digging that. That's a good one. All right, next up, we've got the Empress. And so we've got this lovely Empress lady reclining on her couch, and she's got some pumpkins and even a jack-o'-lantern, a carved jack-o'-lantern. And she's holding up, is that a glow stick with a pumpkin on it? I think it is. I think that is a glow stick with a pumpkin on it. That is amazing. She's got some fun fall trees and some evergreen trees in the background. I am loving her skirt. I don't love the faces on this one. I don't know if you can see. It's actually a little bit better close up. When I did pull it close up for myself, I did like the face a little bit more. You know, I'm a little fussy about faces on these decks. So overall, I really like this Empress card. I think it's really cute, other than the face. Her midsection looks a little bit weird, but whatever. And then now that I'm handling them individually, they don't feel quite as stiff as I thought they were, to be honest. So I do think that would work out with use. And I'd really be interested to see if like what happens to the holographic effect after they've been handled quite a bit. So if you have this deck, please comment if you have used it quite a bit. I'd love to know what the longevity of the cards are with that holographic effect, like what happens over time. So if you know, please leave a comment because I'm like super curious about that. And then this is the Emperor. And if you look, oh my gosh, is that Frankenstein's monster? It is the Emperor. That is a vibe. And I love it. And I love his like brick and stone chair vibe. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. I love it. I love it. I'm terrible at figuring out what's on screen versus how I'm showing it to the camera. Will that ever change? I'm not going to say it will. All right. Yeah. So that's a good choice for the Emperor card. I really like that. All right, next we've got the Hierophant, and we've got a pumpkin head dude with a wand holding a candy apple, and again with all the fall leaves and the pumpkins. So hang on, I'm trying to get it so that it's less reflective. There we go. So you can get a really good view of that. Yeah, really loving the colorful fall leaves, especially since here in Texas, the leaves are just now starting to turn yellow, and it is November 8th. So yes. You can tell why I'm so obsessed with colorful fall leaves because we don't have them. All right, up next, we've got the Lovers card. Oh my gosh, it is Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, and then Frankenstein himself, Dr. Frankenstein in the background. That is an interesting choice. So I love the electric coils. Okay, it's weird because it looks like this is like the greenery from the top of a tree, but there's no tree base. It's the castle, or it's at a church. So this is an interesting card. I would love to see a guidebook for this because I'd love to better understand the inclusion of Dr. Frankenstein with the two lovers, Frankenstein's monster and the Bride of Frankenstein. That's interesting. Why is he in this card? If anybody has a theory, tell me because I don't know. I don't know. Next, we have the Chariot, and look at that. I love the cats. The Chariot looks a little bit like one of those short, like Roman style carts that they would ride around in the Colosseum in. You know what I'm talking about? It's weird to me. And then you've got like this like guru Swami type in it, and then behind him is a giant pumpkin. Like, I am just not understanding this one, but just because I understand it doesn't mean I don't like it. I'm just not used to not understanding things, and this one is escaping me. But it is a really nice card. It is attractive. The artwork is nice. I love the cats. I love that there's a cat emblem on the chariot. Just interesting because again, it's a Roman style cart thing, but he's got the desert behind him, and he's got, so okay, this really could benefit from a guidebook because again, that's an interesting choice. As is this one. This is the Strength card, and you've got this like witch lady What is she doing to this lion? It's so funny. Like, maybe she's, like, doctoring the lion, I don't know, but that is very, very interesting, and you've got those colorful fall leaves. She's definitely witchy looking, like, you can tell she is the witch in this scenario. So, that's a fun one for a strength card. I mean, obviously you need the lion, but just the way she's handling the lion is so interesting, you know? So the lion is normally the symbol of strength. It's himself. And then you've got this lady handling him. So she's also strength. Very and courageous. Like there's just a lot there. That's a really interesting one. I like this one. That's what my facial expression is. This is the hermit, and you've got this like spooky wizard, except he's a necromancer, I believe. He's like holding up a skull, and then there's like power radiating from the skull. So, really interesting for the hermit card. I don't see necessarily that imagery every day. I'm into it. And then I love again the bats. And then you've got these like lines going through, like indicating this like spooky wind. And then you've got these like little skeletal post fall trees, right? That's actually kind of a wintry look to have no leaves on those trees. And I don't see them on the ground either. Really interesting. So, really implying that there's like kind of an unusual power with the hermit, more so than we might normally think, where he's got this like skull and it's radiating power. So that's an interesting tone there as well. Next up, we've got the Wheel of Fortune, and it's super, super cute. Okay, it doesn't directly say anything about trick or treating, but to me, this is almost like a trick or treating vibe. We've got the Wheel of Fortune, and you're showing the house, and then the witch is flying above it. You've got the cat, but it's almost like the wheel's going to spin and you don't know what you're going to get. And so like it's like the wheel itself is trick or treating, where the outcome, I wouldn't say it's random because the whole point of the wheel is that it turns and it cycles, but sometimes you get the treat, sometimes you get the not so good outcome. So this is a good card. I'm not going to lie. The symbolism here is great. And I really think the house is there to kind of reinforce that trick or treating thought, to really kind of make sure that's what they were going for thematically. So kudos to you. I'm liking this deck better than I thought I would. All right. And then next up, we've got the Justice card. So we've got yet again a witch, and she's sitting here on her pumpkin throne, and she's got the scales of justice and the sword. And then behind her is this like tapestry. So I can't tell if that pumpkin that's right behind her head is like part of the throne or part of the tapestry. I'm assuming it's part of the pumpkin throne. And then you've got the orange, yellow, and white stripes like candy corn. So very fun for the Justice card. I really like it. And I like the witch is the judge, as it should be. Next up, we've got the Hanged Man. I like this one too. So this is a vampire, and he is hanging upside down on this branch, and he is surrounded, I hate to say surrounded by bats. There's literally two bats, and surrounded by makes it sound like there's more than that. But he's hanging out with two bats as he is hanging from his tree branch. Okay, and then sorry, I have to look at it directly really quick. His vest is at a bit of an odd angle, but then when you look closer, you realize it's actually not. It's that his leg is bent under there. So his vest is oriented correctly for his body. So really fun, kind of narrow bat wings. Those are fairly narrow, but that's fine. And then I love the blue color. So I like this card. Yes, I like vampires. So it's hard to go wrong if you give me a spooky deck and there's vampires on it. I'm probably going to like it. All right, next up, usually my favorite card in any deck, the Death card. And oh, yes. This really is my first time looking at this deck, guys. Oh my gosh. So he is traipsing through a graveyard on his skeletal horse. And it looks for a moment like they're knocking down gravestones, but I don't think they are. I think the gravestones are just like leaning. I don't think the horse actually kicked any of them down, even though it looks like he might have been over here. He wasn't. And then the death figure himself is like a Calaveras, from Dios. Oh my gosh. Dios de la Muerta. I can't believe I almost said that wrong. Oh, and the horse is decorated like that too. This is a good card. This is a really good card, and I love the flag with the jack-o'-lantern on it. I love the way the horse is decorated. This is a really good death card, just really, really good, and then you've got the sun setting or rising? I don't think there's any directionality clues, but with the death card, the sun's gonna be setting, so night is coming. And death on his little horse. It's supposed to be a pale horse, but I like that it's black with the bones showing through. It still is a pale horse. It's just portrayed a little differently than the normal. So very, very good card. All right, temperance. And so you've got this. Is she a vampire lady? So the other guy had the bat wings and he was blue and he was a vampire. Hmm. Is she a vampire? And look, the sun is red. And so she's pouring this red wine from one cup to another. Are we supposed to think it's blood because she's a vampire, or are we just going with dark red wine? I don't actually know. But yeah, again with the stars, look at how many stars are in the sky sparkling. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that red sun. I like it. I like it. She almost looks like one of those angel statues. It's just she's got bat wings, so I'm just not convinced she's supposed to be a vampire. But of course, with the red sun and the super dark red wine, I do think it's giving vampire. Would like some teeth or something to make it more obvious than just the bat wings and the red wine. But you know what? That's life. Sometimes you got to interpret it for yourself, right? Okay. We all know what's next. It's the devil card. This one's really cute. Okay, so you've got the devil up there, and at his feet, you've got two kids dressed up for Halloween. I'm going to say that that is what's happening. So you've got the little boy dressed as the devil in his costume, and then you've got a little witch girl, and they are gorging on candy. So, yes, very good temptation theme with this devil card. And then I need to look at this like this. And it's really interesting because in his bowl, like, is that supposed to be, like, symbolic of candy? Because, like, some of the stuff in the bowl doesn't necessarily look like candy to me, but I don't know. Moon. Oh, this is such a good card. And then the kids down there, like I said, just absolutely stuffing their faces with candy. You can see all the wrappers on the ground. That is a good devil card for the Halloween Waite deck. This is a good deck. Yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna go back to the box really quick. I feel like showing this like super colorful clown. So far, that's actually been the worst card in the whole deck. And so putting that card as the cover card on the deck, I guess it's good because your expectations are low and all the other cards are so much better. But also, like, I almost wouldn't have picked this up. I just picked it up because it was Halloween. So take that for what you will. Of course, next up, we've got the Tower. This is a good tower card. All right. So you've got Frankenstein's monster leaving the burning castle, and you've got Dr. Frankenstein leaping from the burning castle, or he's been thrown, but I think he's leaping because you can see the monster like walking off happily down the road. Yeah. That song from The Wiz just popped into my head. Get on down the road. That's totally what the monster is doing, is he is definitely getting on down that road. Oh my gosh, this is a good card for the tower. That's a very good tower card. You've got the lightning, you've got the fire shooting out, like, even though the, castle hasn't undergone much destruction yet, like just the amount of fire and the lightning, like it's really giving off that theme of drama, in the tower collapsing. Next up, you've got the star. Interesting choice for the star. We've got the Bride of Frankenstein. So out of, however many cards we've had so far, which I should know, but whatever, I'm not counting. And also I don't have the numbers memorized. That's a lot of Frankenstein imagery so far from this deck, right? And so for the star, you've got the Bride of Frankenstein, and she is pouring her jugs. One is water and one is wine mixing into the pool. So it's a good card, but I'm just really surprised at seeing the Bride of Frankenstein like again. Just been a lot of Frankenstein. I'm not sure that I would say that there's a better choice, but I am going to say that's an interesting choice that we've been so heavy on the Frankenstein. So next up we have the moon. And what would you expect for the moon in a Halloween deck other than werewolves? Yes. And so here we have the moon, and look at that look on the moon's face too. He's like he's like snickering. And then you've got these two werewolves who look like they're about to duke it out. I don't know where they are. I was about to say in the forest, but there's no trees. There's just these two like concrete pillars or towers in the background. It's hard to say what they are. And then you've got this random lobster in the river of wine. So, yeah, if anybody has any thoughts on this one or interpretations, hit me up because obviously I was so enamored of the werewolves. I wasn't looking at the rest of the card at first, and I don't know what's happening here. But love the werewolves. Perfect for the moon card. So, loving that one. Next up, we've got the sun. Look at that. You've got a giant jack-o'-lantern for the sun itself, and then you've got a vampire riding a rather pony-looking horse. That is a horse, but it looks a little bit like a pony, covered in a moon and stars horse cape, and then he's carrying a trick-or-treat bucket that's a jack-o'-lantern, and he's flying his bat flag. So really interesting choice for the sun. So remember, vampires can't go out in the sun, but this is a jack-o'-lantern sun. And this is the Halloween deck. So I guess we're saying that, he can go out like this with that jack-o'-lantern sun flying his bat flag because he's a vampire. All right. And then we've got the Judgment card. And here we've got what looks like not just a vampire, but I'm going to say Dracula. I'm so confused. Okay, but we'll get back to that later. So, yep. Got the stars, got the bats, and you've got what looks like Dracula's consorts. So I don't know if you remember the women he had trapped in his castle. That's what that looks like to me. So I don't know what the judgment is here. Interesting card. Ooh, I like this one. This is the world. And you've got a lovely fall witch. And she's got her arbor of fall leaves, which we love, and her cauldron and her jack-o'-lantern. And she's got a bat. And she's holding these wands. And then who's that dude in that corner? Who is the dude? Who's the dude? I don't know what is happening. I don't know what's happening in this card. This is an odd one, but I like it. I like it more than that judgment card. I will say that. All right, now we're getting into the suits in the minor arcana. I don't know how much I'm going to go through these, but they do look like they're very distinctive. So we may be going through all of them. The Ace of Cups. So you've got this green monster hand holding this skull chalice overflowing with red wine. And that monster hand is coming out of clouds and wind. That's a good card. Like, that's really good symbolism. I guess if you're doing a Halloween Waite deck, the original Rider-Waite was very detailed in all the minor arcana cards. It's just when we look at these like custom, unique, special decks, a lot of times they put so much work into the major arcana and then they just kind of fall apart when it comes to the minor, and not even fall apart. They're just clearly phoning it in. So far, this one is not phoning it in on the minor arcana. All right, so this is the Two of Cups, and you've got this lady, and what I'm going to keep assuming is a vampire with the colorful leaves, the cups, and the giant bat. Like, if we're going with actual Dracula lore, like, you would think that's Mina Harker, and that's Dracula, but I don't know if this is supposed to be actual Dracula lore. I will have to look this up online and see if there's any sort of like interpretation online or like artist's intent, because I am a little bit curious about some of these. Curious doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that, I think that there's some open questions. 3 of Cups, very ceremonial. That's what I'm getting out of this. You've got the lady with the blindfold, the lady without, and then just the back of this red-robed figure that just is very ceremonial, with the tree branches arching above them, raising up their cups. That's good. All right, for the next one, the 4 of Cups, we've got, is that Frankenstein's monster again? I swear I felt like we left him behind. So more Frankenstein. We've got Frankenstein's monster sitting under a tree, meditating. And you've got the 3 cups on the ground and the one floating in the air full of candy. I say, interesting. Next up, the 5 of Cups with what is this time very obviously a vampire. No open questions about this one. And he is kind of brooding in front of his castle with a bunch of bats over him. He's very broody. He's like Edward from Twilight in that broodiness, angsty sense. He has spilled 3 of his 5 cups. The wine is on the ground, and we're going to say wine euphemistically because this is a vampire, so I think it's supposed to be, something that's not wine. It looks just like it, but I'll leave it at that. It's a good card. I like it. I'm into it. All right, 6 of Cups. We've got a little kid witch and a pumpkin, and all of the cups are full of candy. They've been trick-or-treating. The cat is watching them. So cute card. Not getting any specific vibes out of that one, but that's okay. All right, here we've got the 7 of Cups, and you've got the Bride of Frankenstein's head in one of the cups. You've got Frankenstein's monster looking at them. So all interesting. Candy corn, a ghost, an eyeball, a cat, a bat, and it looks like the castle itself is in one of the cups. The 8 of Cups. I love the wizard with his glowing staff. That's good. The 9 of Cups. I'm going to go faster through the rest of these unless one of them jumps out, because they are starting to get a little bit. 10 of Cups. That's cute. Love the streaks in her hair. I don't know why this one's giving me an Addams Family vibe. The Page of Cups. His revealing tights. The Knight of Cups. That horse is dressed as a pumpkin. That's actually really cute. That's with the orange blanket, and then he's got his little pumpkin head cap on. So I'm actually digging the horse's costume more than the guy's costume on that one. All right, and then the Queen of Cups. I like this because you've got a witch on her throne with her cauldron that is a cup. And her throne, look at that. Very vampire coated with the bats. And then her cape is like really interesting looking, like whatever she's sitting on that's coming out of her back. Don't know what that is, but I like it, but I don't know. King of Cups. Okay, yeah, definitely like a merman vibe here, very oceany. So maybe that's what she had going on, because it did look like scales. So it's like almost like a mermaid shedding her skin. I don't know what's happening here. We need a guidebook. I need to see if they were just selling it separately or like what happened, because this is way too much detail and symbolism in these cards for there to not be a guidebook. All right, let's get into Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles is a pumpkin, and I love it. And then there's this like arch down here for like all the fall trees and whatnot. 2 of Pentacles. So I'm loving that they're using pumpkins as the pentacles. Obviously very fitting for fall. And then I just don't like clowns, so I'm not going to hold out against the card or the deck, but I'm just not the biggest fan of clowns. That's just the way it is. I like mummies more than clowns. I wouldn't say I'm like pro mummy or that I'm a mummy enjoyer, but that's a good mummy, and I do like them better than clowns. I'm enjoying the black leaves on that tree. That is new. Loving that. Here we've got I think we're at the 5 of Pentacles. Is the werewolf robbing the man? Is he chasing him off with limited possessions? Something like that. 6 of Pentacles. I don't know why I can't get this right. There we go. Okay. 7 of Pentacles. Scarecrow looking dude, raking up the leaves, lots of pumpkins, and the crow is talking to him. 8 of Pentacles. We've got a guy in a Frankenstein mask, it looks like. So he's dressed as Frankenstein because we need more Frankenstein in here. And the bats and the cat. Okay, really, Gabby, get it together. There we go. All right. And then we've got the 9 of Pentacles, and we've got this witchy looky lady and her bird of some kind. Let's go over this way. That's been working a little bit better with the reflection. It's like a small falcon, to be honest. Loving her lantern. 10 of Pentacles. I love that they've got a little baby Frankenstein's monster. And then is that their teenager dressed as a vampire sulking in the corner while they get married? I don't know what's happening here, but definitely a family. All right, the Page of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles. And the Queen. I love it. She's got her treasure chest. We've definitely ventured into a bit of a pirate theme here. She's got her pumpkin. She's got her skulls on her throne. I can relate. And the King of Pentacles. We've come to the end of the Pentacle suit. And he's got his peg leg. He's been through it. He's got a hook. I mean, again, the pirate theme, but very funny. He has been through it. He has earned his fortune. He is chilling on his throne. All right, next up, we've got the swords, and the Ace of Swords is very fun. We've got the vampire we've got a vampire hand, and then on the sword itself is a bat right here coming out of the red smoke and the red wind and cloud. That's fun. And then we've got the moon and all those bats above it. And then down here, the bats, the castle, and I love that it's a red ocean or a red sea surrounding the castle. So loving that. 2 of Swords, Witch in the Woods. 3 of Swords. Hey, guess who's back? It's Frankenstein's monster and the Bride of Frankenstein. If we were doing a drinking game, you know what would happen every time we saw them. We're not, though. And so then we've got the 4 of Swords. Oh, I'm loving the mummy. That took me a second to see him down here with the other sword. And then we've got the bat, and then is that a bunny? No, it's a cat. That is the most bunniest looking cat I've seen in this deck. He's a little round. It's a little chunkier than the other cats we've seen. The 5 of Swords. So it looks like we've got some zombies in the field. Are they going to do battle with those zombies? Everybody's dressed up for Halloween. Are they zombies? I don't know what's happening. There's definitely zombies involved, though. And then we've got the 6 of Swords. Oh, we're on a ferry. And the ferryman is moving forward with these kids and a cat. There's a witch flying over the orange moon. Interesting. I like that he's dressed like a burglar and he's trying to steal some of the swords. And then we've got what looks to be an owl in the tree. And then, of course, with the bats. Yes, a burglar is stealing candy, and he looks like he is stealing some of the swords. A blindfolded witch. I love that this is so on par with the Rider-Waite for this card, the 8 of Swords. Loving the cat, obviously, but yeah. It's a good card. All right, next up, the Nine of Swords, and we've got this ghost. We've got this guy who can't sleep. This is it's a little dark. All right, now for the Ten of Swords. Loving the bats. Loving the flooded graveyard. Sorry, let me get it closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Flooded graveyard. Oh, that's so wild. That guy definitely was like, with the swords. Now we're at the Page of Swords with, I'm just going to say that's Dracula, guys. That's Dracula. Look at that hair. That guy's a star. There's bats. It's a black and red cape. That's just not a normal vampire. That is Dracula himself. He's got like main character hair. You know what I mean? Like in that fluffy shirt with the ruffles. You're with me, right? That's the man himself. That's Dracula. All right, next up we've got the Knight of Swords. And it's it looks like the headless horseman, but he's got a jack-o'-lantern head. So yeah, on his horse. He's happy. Look at him. He's so excited. He's like riding into battle. He's doing something, but he's very excited about it. All right, the Queen of Swords on her throne with her giant sword, and she's on a bat throne. And she's dressed as a witch, but she's got a bat cape, and I love her stripy witch hat. You do not see that very often. That is a W. I love it. And the birds and those tree branches. Excuse me. The hiccups. All right. And then we've got the King of Swords, and he's on his throne, and he's got these like spooky green clouds behind him. Love that for him. And he is definitely a vampire. Like she was like witch giving a little vampire. He is definitely the vampire. So let's move into the Suit of Wands. And for the Ace of Wands, now it is a skeleton hand coming out of this red smoke cloud. So you've seen the progression of the different hands and holding a wand, obviously, but love that it's the skeleton hand for the Halloween deck. All right, up next, we've got the werewolf for the Two of Wands, and he's holding the earth in his hands. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. He's on like his castle balcony, howling down at the village, holding a ball that is the earth. And then we've got the Three of Wands. And that is the back of a vampire and some bats looking at his castle, contemplating it. Okay. Next up, the Four of Wands. Oh, this is cute. So you've got these witches. They're sisters, like me and my sister. Amy is the other mystic sister. She's not here today, but look, you've got the sisters and they're under their wands decorated for the fall harvest and Halloween. Why can I not hold this card right? Okay, and their black cat. Oh, I love it. And the bat. So my sister and I both also have black cats, and they're both girls. All right. And then you've got the Five of Wands, and everybody's dressed up for Halloween. And I'm just going to say they're stick fighting. Maybe they're building something, but it looks like they're stick fighting with their wands. That's what that looks like. And then we've got the Six of Wands, and you've got this pumpkin dude on a horse wearing another orange blanket decorated with Halloween symbols. And this one, there we go. This one wand is decorated as well, which I'm digging. I like that. Okay. I like it. I don't know if I can describe it, but I like it, and I like the spider. Next up is the Eight of Wands. This one I like. The Nine of Wands. I'm loving these glow stick wands. And of course, the skulls. really like those. And the moon. Oh, I like this one. All right, here we have the 10 of Wands. That poor lady is tired. She has been doing the work, and then her like granny or her mama is like working at the cauldron. The kitty's there. Yeah, they are tired from the harvest. They have been doing the work. Now we have the Page of Wands. Oh my God, look at that dog with his little Halloween bucket. I'm not even a dog person, but that dog is cute. To be clear, I'm not anti-dog. I'm just not a dog person. The Knight of Wands. Love that. The Queen of Wands. Her throne is interesting with the lions. We haven't seen that in this deck. And her little broom is just a normal broom. And her wine is very pink. She is not a vampire. She is not drinking the vampire wine. And I love her purple hat with the fall leaves. Okay, cute cat. And then the King of Wands. I honestly think we've got some gender bending here. This is reinforcing it because this one I was like, the queen looks a little androgynous or even like maybe assigned male at birth, but is a woman. I don't know. But definitely giving off some gender vibes here. And then we've got the same thing for the King of Wands. That is definitely a feminine King of Wands. And I'm loving the devil horns. I am loving the cape. I am loving the flames. I'm loving the angular jaw. This is all a win for me. And I can't tell like if her hand is supposed to be doing something weird here or if it's just the art style because it looks almost like her hand is like clenched, whereas her other hand is more openly like holding that wand for the I'm sorry if her is incorrect. I mean, definitely presenting as female on this King of Wands. So I'm just going with that, but really interesting. I don't know. I might have had some cards out of order because here we are with the 3 of Swords. So it looks like I might have some cards out of order in this deck. This is a first look. I did not really do much to this deck other than open it. I guess that's the 6 of Swords. I don't know what's happening anymore. This deck has gone off the rails. Everything's out of order. But this is the other, it's still a fairy, but it's the other view. Remember we saw a fairy card earlier? It was the back of the ferryman, and there was like 2 kids, and then this is a different view. There are alternate cards in this deck because we did see these cards. I am like tripping out right now. So yeah, this is the 8 of Wands again, but different. Now we've got witches on them. Remember I passed that one earlier and I was like, I don't really like that card. Well, now we've got the witches on here. And then look, we have another Fool card. And another Fool card. Do you see the difference in their hair? What is happening? And that's not the original Fool card, remember? Because that was that clown guy, which we're going to go back and look at. What? 3 Fool cards. This one's very different. These 2 are slightly different from each other. What is happening? And this one does have the 0 on it. It's just it's a darker card, so it's harder to see the 0 on here, but he is on here. The 0 is really easy to see. I did not expect this. Did somebody else know that this deck was like this? And then there's also an alternate lovers card with a lady and a dude scarecrow and a cat in the middle. So yes, we have alternate cards in this deck. And I have to be honest, on most of these, I actually like the alternate card better than the ones that we looked at. Okay, so unexpected little interesting development with the Halloween Waite deck. I am just really surprised. I'm going to have to look this up and try and understand some of the artwork a little bit better since there's no guidebook, and also understand why are there these bonus cards in this deck. If you know, please tell me, because I'm going to have to look this up afterwards. I was not expecting that at all. I'm not going to lie. I was not expecting that at all. All right, before we start looking at another deck, I'm going to take a drink of water. And then I'm going to show you this box, this tarot storage box that I got recently, like super recently. So I had pre-ordered this from Vampire Freaks, and I think that they often sell things that other people manufacture, because sometimes I think I've seen things on there and realize I've seen it on another site that I'm familiar with where maybe they're the ones who made it. So I'm not saying that's the case this time. I'm just saying that I think that happens a lot with Vampire Freaks, because I was actually really surprised by the quality of this box. I don't mean that in a bad way. But this is a snake tarot box, and it's got this really cool style of rubber band keeping it closed. I don't know when I pre-ordered this. It was maybe a month ago. It wasn't more than a month, but it was more than 2 weeks, if that makes any sense. So I do believe this was a pre-order because it took a minute to get here. And I love the symbols on it, right? So you've got the snake, and then you've got these like stars, and then you've got the planets, and then this, which isn't the solar system, because there's more than 9. I feel like someone's going to be like, Gabby, it is obvious what that is, but it's not obvious to me right now. And I've not spent a lot of time looking at this. I unboxed it a few days ago and was like, oh, I forgot I ordered that. And that's so pretty, and just stuck it on a counter until I could spend some more time on it. But I'm loving this little star right here too. But again, I just love this. Like, this is great. And these stars down here. And then on the back, I'm going to have to take these stickers off so you can see on the back. And then on the side, all the sides are great. Look at that. Just continuing the sun, moon, and stars motif. But it is a snake deck. So as gorgeous as this is, and I love it, and it's perfect, I think I would also want the snake motif to continue as well, and not just the moon and stars. It smells like it came from like a head shop. Like, it smells like it's been around like a lot of like patchouli and smoke and stuff. That's not a bad thing, but it's definitely striking me as I'm holding it closer to my face. Okay, let me see how it opens. Oh, it was just a little stuck. Okay, and the inside is velvet lined. And it was a little sticky. It's almost like the paint hadn't dried completely when they put the lid on it, or there was just a little moisture not from the paint drying. I don't know, but it was just a little sticky, so it was a little hard to pull off, but it's fine, and it didn't pull off any paint or anything. It's still in great condition. This is a very cute little tarot box. Now, as tarot decks have gotten bigger and bigger, not all of them are going to fit in this, but I do like it. Like, this is nice, and it's very heavy. It's good quality. I need to take the stickers off, but I'm going to spend some time figuring out what deck I want to put in this one. You can see I already have thinking face, but those snakes, like, look at those snakes. Those are just great. It looks like there's a little imperfection right here, but that is showing up much stronger on camera than it is in person. But there is an imperfection in the box right there. So that might be something I might fix myself. I have a ton of like paint and pins and whatnot, so I might fix that myself. All right, so far we have seen the Halloween Waite deck, and we've seen my new snake tarot box. And then after we do a few more videos and a few more lives, I'll probably want to get your opinions on what I should put in that new box, because I love it. And then let me know if you want to see some more videos of me showing off tarot boxes, because I actually have a few really cool ones. So if you'd like to see more of those in addition to the decks, just tell me if that should be a standalone video, or if you want to see them in videos with the decks like I'm doing with this one, where I'm just kind of working it in. All right, so I think up next I want to stick with the fall and Halloweenish theme. So I have the Seasons of the Witch decks, and I have a few of them, and I actually think I have more, so I need to go like hunting around my house and see where I have the other ones, because what I could find this morning was the Mabon deck and the Embolic, and then also the Yule. And so today we're going to do the Mabon because we're going to stick with the kind of Halloween and fall theme. And then I'll do another one where we go through Embolic and Yule. But I swear there should be a fourth one. And yeah, I just need to figure out where it is. But right now we're going to go through this one. So I don't know if you've seen any of these Seasons of the Witch decks before. I really like them. They're obviously oracle cards, not tarot. I'm just showing you the box really quick so you can see the artwork. It's not necessarily my favorite style of artwork, but it's not, I don't dislike it actively. It's just not my favorite, but enough that I'm buying the decks. But also the decks get better inside. This is not a first look, but I haven't spent a ton of time with this deck either, just to be transparent. So the box is that thicker cardboard, and then here's the back of it so you can see. So it's definitely all about celebrating the autumn equinox, which many people refer to as Mabon. I know some people are saying that's not exactly what Mabon is. That's fine. That's not for me to say. I'm just telling you what's on the deck. 44 cards and a guidebook. The sides, top, bottom, other side. I think you can hear my cat yelling in the background. That is Morgan. She is my black cat. She's gorgeous. I love her. She has a little stuffed mouse that she likes to yell at, and it honestly sounds like she's yelling mouse when she yells at it. All right, so let's look inside the box. So in here, you've got the orange interior, and you've got this full moon. And I like it because I like the moon to look like the moon, not just be a circle. So I'm really glad that they went with an actual like representative moon on this one. And this one does have a full guidebook. And I have to say, I think I do like the guidebook. I think I remember liking this one, but I've only used this deck once or twice. So the bottom of the box on the inside also has a really good shot of the moon. And then we've got the guidebook. And then we're going to look at the deck first, and then we will enjoy the guidebook as well. And these cards are out of order. I have used this deck. We are not going in order. I did not put them back in order. So if you look, the back of the cards have these amazing birds. And again, that big full moon that looks, it almost said anatomically accurate, but you know what I mean? But the amazing thing is, and I'm going to keep doing this to see if it comes across, is that it's an like orangey foil on the side of it. So, a lot of times you get gold or you get silver, but this is orange for fall. So very, very on theme. And that orange is all the way around on the cards, as you can see. So really loving that about it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, these cards are out of order. I apologize for that, but this is a deck that I have used. Okay. This is the Firesider card. Dwell in the medicine that exists to protect the spirit. I like that. The Reaper card, and those of you who are very, versed in tarot, yes, So for the birth of something new to manifest, the death of something holding you back is inevitable. Very nice. And I like that it's a lady and she's holding this book, very thick book, by the way. And that scythe is giant. That is a really, really, really nice card. Then we also have Falling Leaves. Let go of the things that weigh heavily on you. You deserve to take up space. I like that. Morgan, are you scratching? Morgan is scratching her little kitty tree. Next, we have Fawn. Be curious, dear child, and explore the world within worlds. I like that. Look at her hair. Oh, I love it. Look at that. That is really neat. There's so much symbolism in this one. And I love that she does have the little deer. I love the way her hair is. And she's holding up her grimoire. And we've got candles and there's a moth on the moon. That's a great card. Okay. Now we've got the Queen of the Dead. And look at those nails and the snake Fear not the rage of fire living within, for it is the power of your fierceness waiting to taste you fully. That's really good. Those are skulls on her head too. I'm like squinting because I'm like, oh, and the moon is black. Oh, that's a great card. Next, we've got Harvest Witch. What sacrifices have you made for the greater vision of what is to be? And that's really what fall is, right? It's about the clearing out of the old to make way for the new. It's about making sacrifices, looking towards the future as you accept these losses and these sacrifices. So that's a good card too. Ooh, this one's fun. Haunted House. So you can see she's got, okay, I'm having trouble with this one. She's having, I don't know what she's doing. She sees a ghost in the mirror, but is she painting the ghost? Like she's reaching for it. That's interesting. It says the things that haunt you are the things you have have yet to let go of. Okay, so she is holding on to that ghost. That ghost is haunting her because she has to let go of it. That's a great card and a great message. And look at the decor on the top of the mirror. Look how it's glowing too. You can see that little fox up there and those plants and the mushrooms there glowing. It's a very well done card. Apothecary Cabinet. This one's fun. I remember seeing this one when I opened up the deck. Without practice, without befriending them, they're strangers in your path. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at the white pumpkin. Look at the moth up here and the spider in this corner and the spider web, the giant herbs. Great, great card. Next up, we've got corn maze. So you can see we have the scarecrow with the crow on the scarecrow with his jack-o'-lantern head. I'm so sorry. My cat has decided to play in here. Although your path is unclear, it is there waiting for your faith to lead you. As you make your way through the corn maze. That's a good one. I like that. All right. Up next, we've got mead and wine. Your presence embodied, tasting the pleasure flowing through your being. Interesting. Crow. Pay close attention to the winds. There's a message making its way. I really love that message. And you can see the crows are coming to her, and she is like deeply meditating in this forest. And I just really like this because I've been getting a lot about this message of relearning to listen to your intuition, but I was journaling about this and I literally specifically called it listening to the wind and listening for the wind and the messages that are coming to us. Because I think we've got this intuition, but the intuition comes from within us. And when we're hearing messages that are brought to us on the wind, those are external messages coming to us. And that's what this card is saying, is paying close attention to the winds, because the winds are bringing you a message. That is really intense for me right now, because like I said, this is something I've been getting a lot of messages about. But I think that I really want to focus on how women have been taught not to listen to their own voices and not to listen to the messages that they receive. And it is time to start listening to the messengers that are brought to us. It is time to start listening and learning how to listen again. Like maybe Morgan's telling me to do my nails since she's scratching so much. That might be a message. All right. So then we've got wool. You are woven with an embrace, protected, loved, and the familiarity of finally being home. Wow. Home. And that message about finally being home. You've been away and now you're home and you can really enjoy the comforts of home. It's a good message. I like that. And especially, the kind of message I'm getting right now is being at home within yourself too. Not home as a place, but the comforts of being at home with you. Pumpkin spice and apple cider. Nothing is more nostalgic than the joy of belonging in your presence. I really like that. Look at how she's looking out the window too. Yeah. And I'm just going to say the wind is clearly blowing out there as well. Shape-shifting. Transformation is not the loss of what once was. It is the evolution of a more powerful self. I like that. And that mask, is she taking it off or is she putting it on? Is that her power she's putting on? Or is that her old self she's leaving behind? And then the mushrooms, I really like that. It is the evolution of a more powerful self. Shape-shifting. I like the idea of shape-shifting too, because it really implies a choice, right? Like you're choosing to shapeshift. You're choosing to take on this more powerful image, face. St. John's wort and marigold. This is so funny. This really reminds me of Lord of the Rings. I'm really getting a big Lord of the Rings vibe out of this card. Against your will, there will not be. No entrance, no welcoming. Be gone. Okay. That's a serious card. This is straw bale. I would not have that many candles around the straw, but let's see what it says. It's time you step out of your comfort zone, take up space, and reach new heights. Feeling like a tower moment, feeling like she's setting that straw on fire, like she is burning her comfort zone. That's what that feels like to me. Tea magic. Tea has been coming up a lot for me lately, by the way. I don't know why. Look at how she's holding that teapot and the steam coming out of it, but just how distant the handle is from the pot and just how elegant her arm is. There's just something about that imagery that's really appealing to me. Reach into your subconscious, pull from the source, and weave magic with intention, and the answers will unfold. And look at what's on her table as she has this tea. There's another teapot with flowers growing from it. There is a raven, could be a crow. She has used her knife to cut up this apple, and she's got her book, which I'm going to say is, in fact, a book of spells. I'm just going to say it. I'm calling it. It's a great card. It's really interesting. I say tea has come up because my sister took me to a French tea service for my birthday 2 months ago. And then she's been getting really into tea, especially as part of reading, not reading tea leaves, but tea with reading. And then I had a visitor this last weekend. A friend of mine came to stay with me for the weekend, and she drank a lot of tea. So there's just been a lot of tea talk lately. The next card is pomegranate. It's a lovely card. I'm really enjoying this very attenuated looking hand with those long fingers. The cut pomegranates on the table and what looks like pomegranate wine, a crystal, a moth. Dare to taste the unknown. Let it seduce your spirit awake. Try new things and it awakens the soul. Right? That's what I'm getting. And the eye and the hand, I know I mentioned the attenuation of the hand, and I was thinking about the eye, but not saying it. It's a good card. Root vegetables. In those hidden places where most fear to go is where the most nourishment is waiting for you to behold. That is just like the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek, which is one of my favorite quotes, Joseph Campbell, I think. But yes, hidden places where there is fear, that is where the most nourishment is waiting for you to behold. And the wise woman with her basket of vegetables and the owl, again, symbolizing wisdom. So nourishment for the mind, nourishment for the spirit. But this is all about wisdom. Seeking wisdom where people fear to go. Peppers. I don't know why peppers. That is so fun to me. They're so colorful. Obviously, love peppers. You've got some fruits on there. Be fierce about the ways in which you protect yourself. Allies await. That little jar says banishing. That is really a nice card. Yeah, I like that card quite a bit. Scarecrow. So fun. Look at those drying sunflowers and the crows and the ladies, the witches protecting their field. Remember that you are not alone. Move with confidence as you are guided. Oh, I like that. Like, I know scarecrows protect the field, but it's these witches standing strong together. Oh, that's so great. I like that. This next one is molasses. To move forward, you must know where you are headed. And I like that it's molasses because molasses moves slow, but it goes, right? Oh, I like that. The crystals in the window with the apples and the ginger sticks, ginger root. I don't know. I'm hungry. This card is making me hungry. I skipped lunch. I shouldn't have done that. All right. Mountain cabin. Look at her little fox friend. Look at her dark hair. Thank you for representing the dark haired girlies. There are times when solitude can be healing and enlightening. I completely agree. It is so interesting. I was talking to my friend who is a former client of mine and who I still coach sometimes. And it was really interesting. She's really doing a lot of deep work around identity and her place in the world. And can she reach for those bigger dreams? Which, of course, I'm saying yes. But one of the things I told her is that her answers will come to her in solitude because she spends so much of her time interacting and on calls and calling her friends and getting other people's opinions. And I'm like, you need to spend time with yourself to hear your own thoughts. And I really love this message from Mountain Cabin where solitude is healing and enlightening. And this is also true personally as well. And so I've been in this real season of introspection and reflection and some deep, deep soul and mind healing for the last 8 months or so. And I have been so appreciative and grateful that I've had the luxury to do that. And so much of that work has required solitude and just shutting out all the noises of all the voices and just really spending time with yourself and learning how to listen to your own thoughts and listen to your own soul as it tells you what it needs to heal. Yeah, solitude is powerful. Maple tree. I love that she's lighting a candle. We've got pumpkins. We've got that ever-present raven or crow. There's a change coming that is so big, it will shift all that exists. That's great. I love that. And I love, too, that this one doesn't necessarily give the trauma feeling that you get with the Tower card in tarot. And so there's such a big change coming that it shifts everything. But there's no feeling. I get no feeling of trauma from this. And yes, it is fall and there are leaves falling. And I know that the tower falls. But as so many of us associate the tower with trauma and upheaval, this is giving a different, almost deeper shift where the tower's falling to the ground. This one feels like the ground itself is moving. So this is a very, very powerful card. This really resonates with me. This whole deck resonates with me. So if you were on earlier, we just reviewed and did a first look at the Halloween Waite deck. And I was really responding to the artwork. And there were cards that I liked, but none of them spoke to me on this deep level that this particular Oracle deck is speaking to me. That's why I really like this series of the Seasons of the Witch card, because as I mentioned, the art style, not my bag, but the cards themselves very much resonate with me. So here we've got kitchen witchery. And so we've got this lovely woman in her kitchen and she's cooking up food. And we all know that cooking food is in and of itself an act of witchery. You're creating and you're putting these ingredients together and you're putting them in with your intention, hopefully, which makes all the difference. Abundance flows easily and effortlessly into your life. be in gratitude. I love that. And she's using her abundance to prepare food for someone. It might be her family, it might be herself, it might be for other people, but she's using her abundance. And sometimes using abundance is an act of gratitude in and of itself. Now we go from that to this card, which is called Toad, which is very funny. But I do love this card. This woman is lovely, or maybe she's a girl. I'm of the age now that I can't always tell, but she is lovely. And I love her hair, and I love the green lily pad necklace and the toad on her head. And look at him. He's chilling, but he's also fun. Look at that, like, one eyeball. Like, he's kind of fun. This is fun. Observe, for those who watch, see all. And so look at her lovely green eyes and look at the toad. I think he's augmenting her vision. So I love this message of observation. But again, what's funny is this card feels fun to me, even though it is this kind of deeper message about observing, because the one who observed does see all. And it's like reminding me of those quiet introverts who are just watching everything go by. And that's what she's doing with her toad. So that's a great card too. Next we have whiskey. So she's here with these whiskey barrels. Spirit Distillery. And these moon symbols on the casks. And again with the falling leaves and the bird and the candles and the skull. And she is pouring some of the whiskey into a small glass. Life should be sipped slowly with intention. Be patient as the vision reveals itself. That is a very nice message. And I like the whiskey tie-in because it is a strong spirit. And so you must sip it slowly. And I love the adding of intention, just like we talked about with the kitchen witchery. I feel like I want to sit with that card later and maybe journal with that a little bit. Witch's Rosary. Ooh, I have not seen this card before. Like I said, I've used this deck, but only a few times, maybe only once. But look at this. It's the bones and the feathers. Craft your skills with intentions repeated, a practice of magic powered by purpose. And here's this intention theme coming through again. And it's intention in practicing witchcraft and in sipping of life and in the creation from abundance and the intention there with gratitude. It's a good card. There's an owl in this one too. Witch's Gathering. I like this one. I like all of them, but I'm going to say it every time. Witch's Gathering. Oh, they're cute. They're at a picnic table and they've got lanterns and candles in the trees. Oh, and they're gathering at night under the moon. Gather in power. Come together in grace. Unity is rising and all will be embraced. I like that. Oh, that's nice. That's a good card. I love the diversity represented at this witch's table. I love that some are facing each other and some are facing off and they're talking and they're just being themselves. It feels like none of them are being performative, right? They're each participating in this gathering in their own way. That's good. Oh my gosh, this next card I love, love, love. It is very spooky. You've got the moth with the eyes. You've got the moon, the full orange harvest moon. Yes, this is the harvest moon card. You've got the castle in the distance, and you've got the phases of the moon. Slow your heart and move gently into the coming of self. You can't rush it, right? You can't rush the becoming. You can't force your new self. And you have to be gentle at the same time. It's a great message. She's on a journey and she's got this moth that sees behind her, right? With those eyes. So she's looking forward. She's looking ahead. She's got a candle. She's lit by the harvest moon. But her companion can see behind her as well. That's a great message, right? Of becoming and of coming into yourself, is that you're moving slowly and you have light, but it's limited and it's your own and external. And then, like I said, yeah, you can still see behind you as you're looking ahead. Next, we have breath work. Look at her body language. I almost feel like I'm taking an open breath. Allow your breath to expand your spirit and fill your heart. Oh my gosh, yes, this is so evocative. There's so much movement in this card that is implying breath. Oh, this is a great card. Her eyes closed, embracing the moon. If you watch Portlandia, you're going to get this, but cacao, cacao. All right. So we've got the cacao card. You are loved, you are held, and you are already everything you seek. That's great. I love that. I love it. I love the warmth and the comfort and the owl. Look at that owl. And look at that person secure with themselves. Look at their ingredients. What is the yellow one? I can't even see that. I just need to get glasses. If someone can read what's on that yellow jar, please tell me, because I cannot read that. I need my sister with her glasses. All right, campfire. Do not fear opening your mouth and allowing your tongue to speak. Look at that. And then you've got these spirit foxes or spirit wolves coming from the fire. There's a face in the smoke as well. Sorry. And then the smoke is looping around the moon. And then you've got these women around the campfire. And I love it because the campfire is all about coming together and telling stories. And so it's definitely saying to use your voice. Do not fear opening your mouth and allowing your tongue to speak. So when you're around the campfire, make sure you tell your story. Like, I love this. This is definitely about telling your story. Autumn equinox. Look at this. Lovely, lovely, lovely. You've got the forest creature. You've got the woman with the crescent moon and the stars in her hair. You've got the moth and they're under the moon. And the forest creature gives you this impression of like summer or sunlight, whereas she is definitely of the night. This is definitely giving like a duality and a Persephone vibe. So autumn equinox, which is the time of transition, right? It is the liminal night. Nothing is whole without the acceptance and acknowledgement of all. Yes. So both coming together in the equinox is really the message here. The sun and the moon, the summer forest and the flowers coming together with the night. All right. The next one is called foraging. There is no better feeling than having gone after what you desire, foraging for what you want. That's nice. And it's a cute picture too, right? Because it's like these siblings, I think, and they're out in the forest and they're gathering mushrooms. And then you've got the fox sleeping under the tree. And the fox has his own moon and stars inside that tree. Do you see that? Wow. And the wind is blowing the leaves, and you've got rabbit in the distance, as well as the bird flying in the wind. And the rabbit is leaping in the distance. Everybody's foraging. It's not just these children. That's really nice. And now we have the coming of darkness. All the light is dimming. Life is withering at the core. Are you ready? And so you've got a man coming in. He's been gathering firewood. And you have someone who is cutting up the roots. And look, there's some canning or jarring of things going on. So yes, this is definitely about preparing, right? For the winter, the coming of darkness. And you have to make sure that you're ready, that you're prepared, that you've got wood for the fire, and that you've got food for the winter. So it's really about taking the foraging that came before, making sure that you are prepared. But while this is very material in the preparation, obviously there is emotional preparation for the coming of the darkness, right? Now we have tobacco. I think I've ever seen the tobacco card, but I don't remember it. Feed your ancestors. Raise the sacred smoke to them, for they are hungry to connect. And of course, the fall is all about the thinning of the veil as well, right? So not only do you have the leaves falling and the harvest and the death of the sun and all of the plants, which is again the harvest, but also it is the thinning of the veil where the spirits are near and your ancestors are coming closer to you. And so this card is saying, feed your ancestors, raise the sacred smoke to them, for they are hungry to connect. That's really, really good. And of course, this card is called tobacco, and you can see the tobacco smoke, but whatever your practice is, whether that's incense, whether that's something else, you're feeding the spirits of the ancestors who are coming closer as the veil is thinning and as the nights get longer. And whatever your practice is, just make sure to honor that at this time. Aptly enough, the next card is Ghost Whisperer. Be still in the whispers that ebb and flow through the silence. I like that. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about relearning, or learning how to listen to yourself, but to the wind, and in this case, to the whispers. And that is the spirits in this particular instance. And she's got her grimoire, and her hand is on the skull. She's directly channeling right here. And you've got the candles, which are always light and also knowledge. But be still. She's got her eyes closed. She's sitting and listening to the spirits. And I like that the stillness is an inner stillness. It's not just an outer stillness. Just remember that. Grieving. Oh, and look, she's grieving, but she's enraged. The chambers of your mourning are surrounded by nothingness, emptiness waiting to be seen. This is a challenging card. This is challenging to sit with. She's empty inside, right? She's just a skeleton. She has her whole head and her hair, but her body is just a skeleton. And are those pomegranates on the tip of her hair? I almost feel like this is giving Persephone again a little bit with the pomegranates. The chambers of your mourning are surrounded by nothingness, emptiness waiting to be seen. That is a challenging card. All right, the next card in the deck is Coven. I am you and you are me. When we come together, we are all we seek. There's connectedness and enmeshment in the coven. There is togetherness, but in that togetherness, there is wholeness. Together, we are all we seek. We have everything we need. We are everything together. We're not everything alone. Solitude is required, but there is a time to come together with the coven as well. That is interesting. And what you're seeking, you can find within the sisterhood of your coven. And I like that it's got the 6 birds flying above, because it's giving, that same imagery and symbolism and the theme of the flock moving together. And especially as you go into winter, there's solitude, but there's also community, the need for community to survive the long winter. Cranberries. Devour the truth and let it sink into the depths of all that came before and all that will come after. Devour the truth. That's interesting. And I like that there are these animal spirits surrounding her Devour the truth and let it sink to the depths of all that came before and all that will come after. Look at how large she is. And she's pouring into this field. This is another one I'm going to need to sit with. There's more here that I'm not getting. And again, we'll get to the guidebook in a second. It is very good. I have used this guidebook already. It is very good because these cards, you feel a lot from them. There's a message on them in the imagery and in the text, but this guidebook is a whole other level. Ooh, darkness falls. You know, I love that. Within you live the hidden, the things that want nothing more than to swallow you whole. Oh my goodness. Look at this. That is a mirror. And you're seeing your own inner darkness in this mirror. By the way, she's gorgeous. And I love those eyes as well on her, as well as her eyes. But just look at that mirror. Oh, I love this. Okay, the next card is Apple of My Eye. Look at the apples and the knife and the eye and the apple. Not all that's alluring may be what it seems. See beyond the illusion. I like that because it also goes back to the cranberry card about devouring the truth. And so, it's about seeking truth and internalizing it and carrying it with you as you look back and look forward, right? And then this one is about keeping your eyes open and making sure that you're not falling for what's alluring, what's appealing to the eye, and learning to see beyond the illusion. So you have to see with your inner eye in order to see beyond that illusion. You can't fall for just what's alluring. There might be a worm in the apple, for example, or, falling for the darkness within, as we just saw in the previous card. All right, this is the last card of the deck. And remember, all of these cards were out of order. That is my own fault. It will happen again. So the final card that we're going to be looking at is elderberries. She's making elderberry syrup. There it is. A knowing within bone. Allow it to guide you. Yes. And knowing within bone. This is bone deep intuition. This is not from the heart. It's not here or here. This is deep, deep intuition and learning to listen to that deep intuition and knowing when to let it guide you. So elderberries, that's a good card. All these cards are great. Like I said, the art style for me, the art itself is a little bit meh, but the actual imagery and the symbolism and the messaging, like this is a good deck. I like having things like the Halloween Waite as part of my collection, but this Oracle deck, this is a really powerful deck. Every single card on here, you saw how much it resonated and how much I loved the messaging. And again, that is a combination of this imagery and the symbols and the words and even the name of it. So there's a lot of depth to this deck. And we haven't even touched on the guidebook yet. And you can see how much I'm loving it. But let's go ahead and pivot to the guidebook. So she is thick. Let's look at this in comparison to the deck itself. Sorry, I have little hands, so I'm having a hard time. Oracle cards are always oversized, but these, we'll get to some things about the deck in a minute. But if you look, the thickness of the guidebook is almost as thick as the deck itself, which means that, yes, there is some good information and good detail in this. The pages are obviously much, much thinner. And so when you look at it, there's great artwork still inside the deck, but it's not overpowering. And it's got a great content. And then the cards, you've got the number of the card and then the page number for the corresponding card. And, so again, some nice light artwork to carry through. And then it introduces the deck. Talks about Mabon, talks about the season, really gets into that. So I think that if you're working with this deck, reading this introduction gets you into the right headspace. It is 2 pages of that introduction, and then you get into the Mabon themes and areas of focus. So you've got these themes of agriculture, which we definitely saw, ancestral healing that came through somewhat. There's a few cards. balance and transitions, concentration, endings and mourning, goals and accomplishments, gratitude, grounding, healing and self-care, planting and preparation, sharing and wisdom. Those are definitely the themes that we saw in the deck. But again, I think if you're really working with this deck and you want to get really grounded into the deck, I think that reading these initial pages of the guidebook is actually a really, really good way to do it. So this guidebook isn't just about like, let me look this card up. It's really about getting you into the vibe of the deck and connecting with the deck itself. And so everything is going to resonate on a much deeper level, as well as getting you into that initial headspace, but also knowing when to draw from this deck, right? Like knowing that if these are themes you're working with in your life, that may be a reason to reach for this specific deck, is if you're dealing with these themes, even if the physical world isn't in this season, emotionally, you might be in this season where these themes are meaningful for you. And that is also a time to reach for this deck. So keep that in mind. So I love this series of Seasons of the Witch. They're all like this to some extent, but this Mabon one, I just got this one this year. And when I opened it, huge connection. Huge connection. All right, let's finish talking about the guidebook. And so for each of the cards, it is this like initial page with like this description, and it tells you, you know, the same thing that's on the card. It reiterates it here, but it also gives you these keywords. And so like for Coming of Darkness, which is a bit of a difficult and challenging card, the keywords are preparing and Coming of Darkness. So you've got this interpretation and these keywords, but then you have this whole page of text over here. And then, oh, this one is just those two, but some of them are, I think, longer. I could be wrong, but yeah, this is Corn Maze. And so that and the text, and then Corn Maze is this text and then the other page as well. So the reason this guidebook is so thick is it is really generous with the text and with the amount of space and interpretation it gives for the card, for each of the cards. So let me know if you want me to come back and read some of the things from the guidebook itself. If you're really interested in getting that deep in this deck before you choose to pick it up yourself, or if you just want me to do a reading with it, and if there's certain cards that spoke to you and you want me to go back and read from the guidebook for those cards, just let me know in the comments and I will. I'll make another video and I'll come back and do that. So definitely an A+ guidebook in my book. This is actually one of my favorite guidebooks. And then, like I said, the deck itself, the cards are big in size as you would expect from an oracle deck. The quality is very, very high. I really love the orange foil, and you can see it's got a bit of a shimmer and a reflect. Like this is a really high quality foil, you know, that is on the edges of this deck. And then the back of it is very evocative with these birds that you saw throughout this deck. As we looked at these cards, we kept seeing birds over and over and over again, which is of course great, right? At the harvest, you've got crows, you've got scarecrows, you've got, you know, the birds are messengers. The birds are also feasting on the harvest themselves. So the birds are really a mixed bag because they're bringing you messages. They're definitely companions, but they're also eating from your fields. So a little complexity there. And then how is the card quality? They're very, very thick. They're a little bendy. And then I think this deck is actually the perfect slippiness for me. So when we talked about one of the decks that we did the other day, that one, it just wasn't quite slippy enough for my taste. This one is exactly the kind of slippy that I want, especially in a big deck. Depending on how you shuffle, you need the cards to be able to glide and to be able to pop out like this, which we just pulled Harvest Moon. Very apt for the particular journey I'm on at the moment. And then also Witches Gathering, which I've been getting a lot of messages about finding community, getting mentors, doing mentorship myself. But really, these two are great cards to have popped out for me. But you saw how briefly I was working with the cards and that those cards kind of popped out. So it is the right amount of slippiness. They're not all blowing out as soon as I touch the deck. Whenever that happens, I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. But two cards did immediately pop out. So again, it's the right slippiness, which I think you need more of that when the cards are oversized like this, because they are a little bit difficult to work with depending on how big your hands are. So I know as, camera perspective shifts and my hands get closer to the camera, they look bigger. I'm just telling you this so that you can get the relative size of the deck for someone who has, somewhat small hands for a woman. Okay, so that is the Seasons of the Witch Mabon Oracle. This is one of my most favorite Oracle decks. This one I connected with immediately. So I would love to know from y'all what you do to break in or connect with a new deck. For me, I tell my sister this all the time. I don't know what she does. I actually need to ask her the same question. But when I am acclimating to a new deck and having it acclimate to me, I sleep with it in my bed. I tuck it under my pillow, ideally. Sometimes I'm tucking it in between mine and the next pillow. But I do like to sleep with a new deck in bed with me for a few nights before I attempt to use it. Some decks, though, are so powerful that when you unbox them and you're first working with them, sometimes they just immediately resonate with you. This is one of those for me. Like as soon as I took it out of the box and started looking at the cards, I was really connected with the cards. I was able to do a reading right away. I say that because a lot of card workers really say that sometimes the decks fight with them if they haven't gone through their process of acclimation, and that the decks give them weird messages, or the decks are mean to them or hard on them in some way, which, okay, but for me, it's, either I'm not feeling connected to the cards or the reading is feeling a little bit superficial in some ways, but that didn't happen with this deck. And I'd love to know if y'all already have this deck, what your experience has been with that, if you also felt like this immediate connection to it, or if it did take a while to acclimate. So again, for me, as soon as I opened it, we had a resonance and I was able to do a very meaningful reading, but I did still sleep with it in bed with me to kind of complete that bonding and acclimation. And then, excuse me, sorry for yawning. I've been talking for quite a while. I think my body is asking for me to take those big deep breaths. Like in that one card, I think I need to breathe. So I love this deck. I would say I give this deck an 11 out of 10, which no points off for the artwork, even though it's not my favorite. This deck is so connected and so powerful that it's an immediate yes for me. And then I didn't do the full review on the Halloween Waite deck earlier. I should have. I do think that's a very strong deck for your collection if you like the Rider Waite style and you want to twist on it, or if you just like to collect Halloween decks, I would recommend getting that deck as part of your collection. I did not personally have a huge connection or resonance with it yet, but I did enjoy the artwork. But this is one that I'm so sorry to say this while I'm holding deck. Sorry, deck. This is one I would happily put on my shelf and possibly never touch again. I have a lot of decks, and this one I just didn't feel a specific connection with, but I do think it would be fun to do a Halloween reading with next year. If I remember, I do have other Halloween decks. So let me know what kinds of decks you want to see next. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I do have the other decks from the Seasons of the Witch Oracle. And as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, I definitely want to do the Yule and the Embolic. I think they're both very good. And I have a massive collection of tarot cards. Let me know if you'd like to do a tour at some point as well, because that could be fun just to do a tour of the decks. Otherwise, I will be back in the next episode with a look at more of the Seasons of the Witch collection because it is my favorite. And then just a final note on this one. I think I did mention the slippiness on this. It's fine. It's not too slippy. It's not too sticky. It's pretty much just right. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's pretty much just right on the Halloween Waite. All right. Thank you so much for joining. And for those of you who are watching later, thank you for watching the live replay. I'm going to say that in advance. And I really do want your comments. So I know I asked a bunch of questions on the way. Feel free to answer them, but also feel free to just let me know how you like the video, what you'd want to see more of. And if you did want me to show more of those tarot boxes like I showed earlier in the video. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.